Welcome everybody to today's sit down. I've got a very, very special young man next to me today. I'm going to dive into his CV and some of the amazing achievements that he has achieved, not only for himself, but for us as South Africans. He made his provincial debut for the Bulls in 2003, earning himself 72 provincial caps and won the Currie Cup in 2009. He made his Super Rugby debut for the Bulls against the Highlanders in Dunedin in 2005, where he earned himself 110 Super Rugby caps for the Bulls and was also part of the first South African side to win the Super Rugby title in 2007 and in 2009, as well as in 2010. He was included in Jake White's 2006 Springboks squad and made his debut for the Springboks against Scotland in Durban. He was also part of the Springboks who won the World Cup in France in 2007. After a successful 2007, he was also part of the Springboks who won the Tri-Nations and the series against the British and Irish Lions. In 2009, he earned himself 38 Springbok caps from 2006 to 2014. Thereafter, we unfortunately lost him to a team in Japan where he made huge waves and had a successful career, and then moved to play and add value in France, and finally played in England as well. However, while abroad in England, he also finished his BSc Honours Business Management degree in, I'm going to try to pronounce this university's name correctly, Hertfordshire University, while also doing a part-time internship at Sanlam Private Wealth in London. The amazing living legend, Wynand Olivier. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Such an honor to spend some time with you.
No, it's lucky to be here. Looking forward to it.
I had a different feel for you coming to today's interview. I was expecting very big ego, like a boyki. You are so humble, you're so highly educated, and greet everybody nicely. Thank you very much for being totally different to what I imagined you. You're such a nice guy. It's an honor to meet you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's always nice to meet new people, coming to different areas of Pretoria, and especially for me, meeting new people. I like meeting new people, spending time with people. And like I mentioned earlier, obviously I enjoy interviews as well. But thank you very much for having me.
Hopefully this is one of your better ones. I know you've had thousands. So I'm going to kick it off with my favorite question. And that is, if we could, boom, magically snap our fingers and the 17-year-old version comes and sits on this couch. I want to process you as a young man. I mean, that's only like 5-6 years ago. So it's not a long time ago. Comes and sits here, 17 years old. What's on your mind? What's important? What are you focusing on? What are you paying attention to at that time of your life?
Yes, at the age of 17, we had just moved to Pretoria from Riebeekstad, Welkom. At that stage, my biggest dream was just to get out of Welkom and get a different opportunity in life, because I've seen what happened to people that ends up staying there.
The small town syndrome.
Small town syndrome, that's the thing. And obviously I had big dreams, big aspirations, always wanted to achieve more. Like every young South African youngster, I had the dream of becoming a Springbok, especially after my dad went to the 95 World Cup. So he bought me all this memorabilia and everything. And it was so overwhelming just to see it. I wasn't even there, but amazing. My dream just started growing and growing from there. And obviously at 17, we moved to Pretoria. I was an angry young man, not always getting the opportunity you want, but also I was a little bit naughty. Wasn't lots of fights, lots of party drinking at a young age, and this opportunity presented itself. My mom and dad moved to Centurion. My brother went to Rand University, and I went to Affys. So this in itself was a big opportunity for me. It's different coming from a mixed gender school, coming to a boys' school. So the first 3 months was very, very tough. I basically cried every weekend while I went home because I was in hostel. And my mom and dad just said, listen, you pick the school, you're sticking it out.
We're not moving you. That's
We're
it.
not moving. So I got through that.
Why did you pick that school? Was it for the opportunity that you could potentially have playing rugby, or why was it specifically Affies?
It was all around for me. I met the headmaster at that stage, Mr. Pierre Edwards, and for me, he was a game changer.
Strong leader.
Yeah, the impact he made on me at that stage was significant. And when we walked out, I said to my mom, "This is where I'm coming." And we visited 3 or 4 different schools in Pretoria as well. And I even said it was my idea. I said, I'll come to hostel. That's what I want to do. Having never been in a hostel, it was a big change for me. Obviously not seeing your mom and dad every day. You got your mates around you all day long. You think it's going to be a big party, but it's not. It wasn't like that. It was different. The rules of the school was very strict. Even at the hostel and at the school, we wore uniforms with caps. You're allowed to wear a cap. If you go out on Wednesdays, wear school uniform. I wasn't used to any of this, and for me at that stage, it was something that I needed for myself. To be disciplined and get into structures where people give you a little bit of freedom, but they also guide you. So my first team rugby coach, Dr. Korokrik, I think he's at midstream, him and Saki, they gave me a lot of guidance, giving me opportunity from day one, and they just said to me, listen, we know it's tough now the first 3 months, but hold on, it's coming, it's changing. And as soon at that stage when the rugby started at Affies, everything just changed. Because prior to that, the first 3 months, I was fairly good at athletics. I was fairly good at cricket, playing second team, couple of games, first teams with the likes of Wynand Olivier, Faf du Plessis.
That school has just produced so much talent.
And you've heard about all this and you see the talent. And suddenly I was playing first team rugby and we started at the age of at standard 7, grade 9. Suddenly you've got all this talent, so now you have to step it up even a bit more.
Competing.
So for me, the challenge of competing with the likes of maybe de Villiers, and at that stage, obviously it was just Aby. He wasn't what he is currently. And we had Friede Priya, who's still one of my good mates, Francois Swart.
Wow.
So there was lots of great talent. So I actually enjoyed the challenge of competing with the likes of this. So going to all boys school is different because everyone in standard 9s, they've already have their friends. So yeah,
you're established, and now you're entering.
Now I come in, obviously challenging for different positions and putting a lot of people under pressure with sport and performance. So a lot of boys, a lot of guys wasn't too nice with me in the beginning, up until the rugby season started, and that's when everything changed. And Dr. Pierre Edwards, he gave me a lot of advice. I started playing fullback in the beginning, and then they initially moved me to inside centre. And he said to me, listen, if you keep this up, you'll become a Springbok one day. And
wow.
that's where
I'm getting goosebumps.
My
dream
that's actually where my dream, I realized, listen, if I give it a proper go, and you stop all the naughty stuff, and you might have a chance here. And obviously just across the road, we've got Loftus.
Yes.
So suddenly I'm seeing Loftus every day. So my inspiration to achieve more and more just grew.
So how does that transition happen? I mean, our generation, you're just a year older than me. Our generation, like you said, produced so many superstars. How does the transition from playing first team rugby to, running onto the pitch of the Blue Bulls? How does that happen? How does tryouts work? What is that competitive environment like?
Like I said earlier, obviously the talent you're playing against is phenomenal. And for me, it was always about not settling for second best and becoming who I can be. And what everyone started telling me, listen, it can become reality. And every time you play against someone new and they make a big hoo-ha about them, is try to step up to be better, not compete, to be better than them. So I was fortunate enough at the age of 19, I didn't play rugby in matric. I had a big injury. I tore my cruciate ligaments, so I was out for 11 months.
Wow.
So I did get a contract with the Bulls for 1,000 rand a month. But then I went to Tukkies, and Dick Meir gave me opportunity. And Dick said to me, listen, you want to play Tix 1? I was like, why not?
Let's do it.
So I was still a bit of an angry boy at that stage. I shaved all my hair. I peroxided it completely white.
Okay. So you were the
so
rugby playing Eminem of your era.
Exactly. So I still had a bit of issues going. But all the coaches that was involved at that stage, Coach Farney, Dick, they taught me how to channel my anger into becoming more and leave it out on the pitch without getting giving penalties away, or these days get red cards or send off. So Dick gave me opportunity, and we at that stage took one played against the Bluebulls Vodacom Cup. So I played against the likes of Frikkie Welsh, JP Nel, Tian Hubert, these schools.
Wow.
At that stage, they were playing Super Rugby. So yeah, I had opportunity again to prove myself.
How old are you at that time?
I was 19.
19. Yeah. Still a young boy.
Young boy. Now you're playing against proper men.
Yes.
And I ended up scoring the first 2 tries of the game. And then afterwards, Heineke Meyer phoned me up and he said, listen, you want to come join us at the Vodacom squad? And I was like, yes, now it's getting real. So
now you're on the radar properly.
Yeah. So Monday you arrive at Loftus, you get your bag with kit, and you see all these legends, Anton Leonard, Johan Wasserman, Frikkie Welsh, JP Nel, all that, everyone I was dreaming of playing with. Now I'm suddenly on a pitch with them. I'm training with them. And next, as you walk out the change room, you see Joos van der Westhuizen,
wow,
Norman Jordaan, you see all the proper Super Rugby bulls. So now you think, yes, I have to behave, I have to step it up even more, train harder, do more. And then Heineke just said to me, listen, don't do more, do what you do, give your best, and we'll take it from there and learn. Learn with your eyes and ears and create your own game.
So I want to ask you this question. There's hundreds of thousands of young boys that will watch this interview. If you could, because you know that testosterone, that angry boy, that boy that wants to kill everybody on the field, if you could say something to him right now, and it's, you know, you've achieved so much in your life, what is the 1 or 2 things that you'll tell him that can perhaps serve the people that are going to watch this interview?
We spoke about it just before the interview. I think the one thing that a lot of people don't see is the sacrifice you make. Thinking back now, I was 19 years old at that stage. Obviously, what everyone does is you go to varsity, you go to Hatfield every weekend.
Which was your favorite place in Hatfield?
I actually went all over. Job Zone, obviously a favorite of everyone.
You end up at Job Zone eventually.
There was Chili's just below that and Herr Gunther's.
But everyone ended up in Job Zone.
Yeah, we all end up. So it was a lucky time.
Agree with you.
And at that stage, being 19 years old, I saw all my friends going varsity, getting drunk on weekends, and I'd go to Job Zone on weekends from Friday, Saturday till 3-4 in the mornings without drinking 1 drop of alcohol. So I'd spend time with my friends. I'll drink orange juice or whatever there was at the time. I wasn't on Coke or anything like that. So I think the one thing that people don't always see is the sacrifice, and that's a small thing, but
it's a big thing.
Even you sacrifice weekends. You look after your health more than everyone. You can't eat what everyone eats. So the sacrifice is probably one of the biggest things that people don't see. They see the lifestyle and all that. So if I have to give anyone advice now is, listen, you sacrifice now to gain later. And that's 90% how it works. And it might not be tomorrow, it might not be the day after, but 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So no one's going to give you advice and say how long the sacrifice or when it's going to stop. But I think that's the one thing. And obviously, if you have a dream without any action, it stays a dream. So you have to put it into action to achieve what you want to achieve. And it might not come the way you see it or the way you envision it, but in some way you might achieve what you want to achieve, or even more.
Amazing, thank you. And on that note, we run sales teams, and I always say, taking what you just said, the people that don't read the books, do the training, practice, get better every day, eventually the separation becomes too big. Eventually the guys can't compete against you in your age group if they're going doping and drinking and partying and eating the stuff that they're not supposed to. At 19, you're already separated from the rest.
I think in rugby terms, what I saw with a lot of my friends that played at school level with me was obviously at the age standard 9 matric, first year of varsity, a lot of guys focus on looking good, they want to build muscle, they want to become big, all that, where that for me was never important. For me, it's more about what works for me. Where can I become faster? Obviously, if you look at it, it's a lekker thing, but it's nice to take off your shirt on the beach. But it's not about that. It's improving yourself. So I never wanted to become big. I think I was maybe 85 kilograms, where some of my friends were 95, 96 kilograms at the age of 18, 19.
And I mean, your Springbok days, I think the heaviest you were was 93.
I played at 93. It differed obviously what competition when I went to Japan, I played at 87, 88. Back in France, I was 93 again, and when I went to England, I was 98, 99.
Wow, okay, you were heavy.
Yeah, because the game is slower, so you need a little bit of weight to give you a little bit more gain line. So you sacrifice speed for strength, or because I think my proper weight was 93, 94. That's why I could be my fastest and handle my weight and control my body at the peak level for what the competition we played.
So I'm picking up that separation became, I'm not going to focus on physique, I'm going to focus on technique and speed and what works for my body type, whereas the other guys wanted to be big and intimidating.
Yeah, when I started to the Bulls, I competed against Etienne Botha, who was a small guy, but he probably had the best feet in South Africa.
Yes.
He had a step and a swerve, or whatever you want to call it, that no one could beat. I remember a try that he scored against the Cheetahs in one of the Grey Cup finals, where I think it was 2005. Probably one of the best individual tries I've ever seen in my whole life. So I had to say to myself, and on the other side of it, I had Drie Scholes, big, massive unit, Tian Hubert and JP Nel, who could tackle anyone out of his boots. So where do you find yourself?
Yeah.
So I basically stole with my ears and my eyes and saying, okay, Etienne does this well, so I can't do that, so I need to do something else. Tian does this well, Dries does this, JP, and I started formulating my game around what I learned from them. And my game plan soon became what it is today, just because I learned from guys who've been there, done that. And that's why I always believe where you need a great balance between experience and youth to give you top performance, because the youth drives the experience, but they also learn from experienced guys, and you need from experienced guys to give back to the youngsters to achieve what they achieve.
Love it. We recently did a video on that. What's the difference between being smart and being wise? You know, youngsters are normally smart. Like this wall, you want me to run through this wall? No problem. You know, we can run through it if we're a team. We're being wise. The experience says, listen guys, don't run through there. Just run around here. There's a better way without getting hurt. I love it.
No, it's exactly. A lot of people at that stage, when we started out 2003, 4, 5, thought we were playing crash ball rugby. And it wasn't crash ball rugby. We were running to score. So every opportunity you get to the ball, you run to score. It's not about running straight into a brick wall. It did happen like that sometimes. Because obviously as the game grew,
Yes.
Guys got bigger, faster, stronger. So you had to try and outsmart them in different ways.
Yes.
So we had the ability, from 2005, a lot of people won't realize that, but we changed our game plan, although it looked the same. Because we've had the likes of Brian Abena, Akona Ndungani, Zane Kirshner, JP at the back. Our forwards were unbelievable. We had all 8 starting in the front, in the pack of forwards with Springboks.
Yes.
All with different abilities.
Yes.
So it's just complementing each other and see where we can do something different. And you had the likes of Frida Pierce, world class. You tell him, listen, put the ball 2 meters into 22, just outside the 15, and he does it. And you tell Brian, go and fetch it, and he goes.
Amazing. Nobody can stop him. So I want to ask you a different question. Elite athletes normally have something that goes on. I want to process a day with you where you run onto the pitch for the Springboks. How does that night look? How does the morning look? You know, the build up. And what do you say to yourself if you want to go into that much detail, just as you're about to put on your boots and jump out of the locker room onto the field? I want to process a day with you. The night before.
Yeah, so obviously the day before is actually pretty easy. We've got a captain's run, so we boys get together, we joke around. Captain's run is usually between 30 and 45 minutes. We start off the captain's run with a game of touchies. So the boys are having fun.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, and then after that we go into about 10 or 15 minutes of structured play. What are we going to do? This we do here, this we do there, and we go through the whole pitch. What we're going to do. And afterwards, obviously, you just want to have a chilled night. Some of the boys might go for dinner, but I think most of the guys actually eat the same thing. So I usually had chicken and veg the night before. And if you can, boys would play, in the Springbok setup, we used to play a little bit of cards, just have a coffee, just relax a little bit. You usually have your family around. If you do, take the kids to play a little bit in the foyer or whatever, or very, very chilled, just to take your mind off things. For me, obviously, through that, as I go to bed, I started playing the game in my head a little bit for 10 minutes or so, just to what I want to do, where I want to do what, and then the next morning, very chilled breakfast. You get together again 4 hours before the game for a walkthrough, maybe a little bit of stretch, and then you start getting into your zone.
What does that mean?
I usually had music playing in my ears. I had a playlist for 3-4 hours before the game, hour before the game, and then 15-20 minutes before the game. I had 3 or 4 songs that I usually listen to.
Please share.
Where Rise Against was one of the songs I actually listened to, which made me want to run through a wall. It just put me in a whole different mindset. But also then you had songs like Chicken Fried and Wagon Wheel, and just like a feel-good songs.
Okay.
Whatever you like, whatever makes you focus on what you want to do. Because some songs obviously it makes your mind wander if you listen to like the Britney Spears, I don't know, for some people.
Yes.
But you just need something that makes you relaxed, just chilled out, and then you warm up after that, and then obviously 10 minutes before running onto the pitch, the boys start going, listen, enjoy the game, let's go do this. And then I would chat to the fly off in the outside centre and the 9. We'd have a little bit of get together and saying this is the targets. And then as you run into the pitch, the wow of running in front of 50,000 people is just, I think that's probably the one thing I miss most out of not playing rugby anymore.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, you might have 20,000 screaming for you and 20,000 screaming at you. You don't know, but that's the one thing you miss. And then I had a routine of usually within 5 to 10 minutes into the game, I'd get together with the 10, the 9, and the 13, and then maybe some of the back 3, and we'd say, okay, listen, this is their weak spot today, or let's target this, let's do that. And then we take it from there. And then some of the boys, Brian and the guys, would give their feedback. Listen, there's a soft target there, let's do that.
Okay.
So there's a lot of conversation going on, and it was never about achieving or getting more, what can I say, more attention than anyone else. You had a job to do, that's what we focused on, and that's it. And then Brian would tell me, do that and look at that. And I try that, and I might say, okay, like just feel my shoulder, or we talk about it through the whole game. And then obviously afterwards we'd have a couple of beers, might go out. It depends what the boys are, how tough the game was, who we played.
So how do you process a win versus a loss?
Usually the same.
The same?
Exactly the same, yeah.
Really?
For me it was, depending where we were. Obviously Pretoria for us it was always lekker because we into Rhapsodies, we knew most of the people.
Yes.
So I'd always do the same things. We have a couple of beers in the change room. Loftus obviously my favorite stadium, so we go have a drink on the pitch afterwards, and then meet up with some friends or family for dinner and then go out. If we went overseas, we might go for dinner and then afterwards go out for a little bit, depending again on how tough the game was. Because if you lose, you need to process what had gone wrong, but you can't do it because you're obviously tired. So you need to freshen up the mind and say, listen, okay, we'll take it on Monday again. So let's just relax for the next 2 days.
Makes sense that you say it's the same. So you've got a sequence of events, couple of beers, chill, have supper, go out. Monday, we hyper focus, fresh mind, and then process the win or the loss.
Yeah.
And learn from there. Okay. I want to get into some mistakes that we can learn from you. Biggest mistake in your career, or rather mistakes that you've seen in other people's careers that you can give us, warnings about so that we don't need to make them for ourselves?
I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that most people make is, and I'm talking about myself, is once you start achieving certain things, I became a Springbok, then you win the World Cup and Super Rugby's, and in some way or another, it sits in the back of your mind. You almost think you're untouchable. You're 23, 24 years old, you're young, you're earning stupid amounts of money. People greet you wherever you go in the malls, and you get car sponsors and clothes sponsors, and you start to think you're untouchable, especially at that young age. I think that's the mistake most people make in a work environment. As soon as you achieve more than expected,
so true, you
start thinking, okay, now I need to spend more or do more, or I need to show everyone what I've achieved.
So true.
I think I never bought a big house or anything, but I did bought a black X6 BMW, which cost more than my house at that stage. So,
of course, at that age, yes.
Yeah, I was 25 years old, so I could afford it. So it was nice for me. Going back in time, I think that's the one thing I might not do. But in saying that, the X6 is probably the only car that I bought that I miss now.
Okay.
Now it's more family cars and things that make sense. That's practical.
Gotcha.
So I think it's just staying level-headed. If you make more doesn't mean, if you achieve more doesn't mean you have to be someone else.
Yeah.
Just be who you want to be and strive to be better. And don't take things for granted. That's the one thing.
It's so tough though. Speaking to highly successful people at a very young age. We had Mark Fish a couple of weeks ago, and I posed the same question, exact same answer. And then I asked him the follow-up question, but who keeps you humble at that age with that level of success? Very hard.
Actually not.
Not?
No. At that stage, it's quite easy. I spent every Sunday with my family, my mom and dad at that stage. Then me and my dad would go play golf in the mornings. And as all parents are, he came straight out asking, okay, so what happened there? What happened there? And I said, Dad, I don't want to talk about rugby. Let's just talk about other things.
Life.
He's like, no, you made a mistake there. I want to know. What were you thinking?
So accountability with Dad is here.
Yeah. That's always what I liked. And
Beautiful.
My mom on the other side was, listen, why do you buy this car? Why do you do that? Just
conservative.
Yeah, why? Someone called you in the stands. Why don't you go and greet them?
Wow.
Something that's the conversations I had with my mom and dad. They keep me level-headed, and they always say, don't be bigger than the game, because long after you're gone, the game's still going to go on.
Yeah.
So you want to be remembered for the humble person who always did more than was expected, not because it was expected of you, but because you wanted to do it.
Beautiful.
And that was my saving grace in a lot of sense. Just never going way off the path that was written for me and what I wanted to do, or what I wanted to achieve at that stage.
Amazing. And on that point, I think that prepared you. You were very well equipped to go overseas and remain humble, remain grounded and centered, and not lose your head overseas, because there was never really a lot of sports people make big whoopsies overseas, huge ones. You kept your nose clean, everything was fine, you did your thing, you qualified, you got a degree. Do you think that humbleness of mom and dad and the accountability helped you through that?
No, definitely. I ended up marrying a girl that went overseas with me from day one. I said to her, listen, I don't do long distance. You either come or you stay. If you stay, then it's over. But if you come, I'll look after you. And she said she'll move overseas with me. And she's exactly the same person as I almost say as my mom and dad, as my mom, because that she won't like it. But she keeps me level-headed as well. She doesn't like fancy stuff or show off and stuff like that. She's Afrikaans, boer girl. Let's just do what's necessary and what's needed. We don't have to do more than that. And I think going overseas, stepping outside of this bubble that we live in as South African rugby players in South Africa, where you get cars and basically everything for free. Now you're outside of the bubble. So now you have to start doing things for yourself. And luckily she was there to guide me in a lot of sense. And even today, she keeps me humble and level-headed and stay focused on the task at hand. And we've got a goal. Let's achieve that goal.
Let's chase the goal.
But at the same time, let's have some fun with it.
Beautiful. Love it. It takes a village to raise a man. It takes a very big village to raise a great man like you. If you were first 3 people that come to mind that you will say, okay, this person shaped me and course corrected me, and this is the advice that he gave me, or this is the way that this person helped me. I know there's more than 3, but the first 3 that come to mind.
Obviously, my mom and dad. My dad, in a lot of sense, he taught,
accountability.
Yeah, he taught me also what I know about rugby from a young age. Training, putting more effort into what's needed. You might step off the training pitch now, but you didn't do what you need to do. So let's go home. Let's do a little bit extra work.
Wow.
So
from a young age.
From a young age, I remember just talking about it now. I've got an older brother who's 2 years older than me. So he was always keen to play a little bit of rugby or cricket after training. And then my dad would guide certain things, passing, tackling technique, stuff like that. So it was easy for us to do that, and we enjoyed it. In the cricket season, we played cricket. So I think my dad is obviously one who's guided and molded myself and my brother in a big sense, with my mom obviously right next to him. But I was very fortunate to have more than 2 or 3. I had my uncle who passed away a couple of years ago. He played for the Northern Free State. So he's the guy who bought my first rugby boots for me. He gave me the Western Province jersey, the Natal jersey as a youngster and all that. So yes, that was special and even more motivating than anything else. And obviously I had my whole family behind me. I still do today, which is great. And they always push me more. I don't think my mom and dad ever missed a game in South Africa. They never. Not a Bulls game, not a Springboks game.
That's amazing.
Nothing. They were watched all the games. My brother,
That's
obviously,
amazing.
he was my go-to. He's also the first and only one ever to punch me in the face, which was nice in a sense.
I don't know if you want to tell the story, but I'm getting, you sort of deserved it a little bit.
Yeah,
or you asked for it. No?
We've got a very good relationship, me and my brother. So at that stage, we were fairly young. Yes, I can't remember the exact age. We would play cricket in the
backyard.
Yeah, and he was bowling, I was batting. So he bowled one ball and it hit me in the body. And I said, listen, it's not a fair game that. And then he bowled a full toss again, hits me in the ribs. And I said, if you do that one more time, I'm going to throw you the cricket bat. The next one hits me again, and I said, run. So he started running, and I threw the cricket bat, and it's like a buffalo that's just being shot, and he dropped to the ground.
So you actually threw it against him, you hit him?
Yeah, I hit him against the back. So then I knew, oof, yes, it's coming. So I ran. So I ran inside the house. So I can't remember what I was doing at that time, but I heard some noise and something, and as I turned around, I just saw this fist coming.
Boom!
Oop, yes, and he hit me straight on the nose. And so that's the first time I broke it as well. But it was all good, clean fun.
Yes, good, clean fun.
Yeah, brotherly love, as I call it.
Yeah, that's how they grow up.
Yeah, and then continue with the question. I think rugby-wise, I've had a lot of good coaches. I actually saw my primary school coach a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Dan Jansen van Rensburg from Rugby. I saw him 2 weeks ago. So he was I think he's also one of the people that taught me a lot at a very young age, because he played centre in his career. So I know it's live at that from a youngster. So he taught me a lot, which was nice. It's nice to see him and remember that. And then I think my varsity coach Fani, Dick Meer was a big inspiration for me. Ashley Everett and Nico Sarfontein under 19, under 20. And then Heineke obviously speaks for himself. He's the guy who gave me a massive opportunity, and then learned a lot from France after that, Frans Ludeke. And then obviously Jake, who made me a Springbok. So I think everyone played a different role in different stages of my career, with always my family at the backing of it. Just being there, keeping me humble.
Was there ever a player that made you not nervous but wary? Like this, sometimes a person has this energy or this presence. When you see that person, you're an alpha male. Never mind. I know no one made you nervous, but you were edgy against that person. Who's that player?
A lot of people ask that question, and the thing is, playing against big boys or big guys is actually easy. I enjoyed that. Playing against Nonu was easy because I played against him for 10 years. So I knew exactly when he's going to step, where he's going to step, when he can pass, when he can't pass. I knew exactly what he's going to do. But if I had to say, there's actually different scenarios. If I had to play Super Rugby or anything, I think Matt Kita is probably one of the toughest guys I played against, because he's small, firstly. He's strong, he's got a step, he's fast. He had everything, but he wasn't big, which scared me a lot, because always it's the small guys. And then going up to Europe, playing against Gordon Darcy and Brian O'Driscoll. They, again, smaller guys than the likes of Nonu and Tonu Umaga and those guys. And they were very strong. They had a step. They could pass. They could basically do it all. So that was actually, they were scared coming up against those guys.
Not the big guys.
It's not the big guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the small guys, because a strong, step, fast. They basically got it all.
Got you. I want to process again. You've had enormous amounts of success from a young age. Is there landmines that youngsters should look out for? So landmines meaning, be careful of this, because either I've stepped on one or I've seen someone step on one. So if you can share maybe 2 or 3, then we can give the GPS coordinates to the youngsters. Like, listen, we saw this, don't do that.
I think as a man, probably one of your biggest pitfalls is women.
Big landmine.
Yeah, so
mind you, there's 2 women in the studio, so
I know, that's why I'm very careful what I'm
saying. Let me know if they start running.
Watching.
So I've just got to look to my left here. Okay, they're still seated.
Yeah,
I agree though.
It can be great or it can be very bad, because I've seen where a woman breaks a guy completely and he loses everything because of 1 or 2 wrong decisions. And being involved in international rugby, and everyone knows you outside and all that, it's easy to step on land, but you might have 1 or 2 beers too much, do something wrong, and everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
And that breaks you. Poof,
especially now.
Especially now. I think money is another one. It can either make or break you. Like I said earlier, spending too much, not looking after it. And I think probably one of the biggest things is not developing yourself in terms of being a person, and educational, and gaining different perspective on life and experience.
Beautiful. Love it, because rugby is great and sport is great, but it's not forever. You are a phenomenal business person. Hopefully we're going to do stuff together after this interview, and I'm highly impressed with how much you've achieved outside of the sporting world. You've done some intricate stuff, and you would have never achieved that had you not developed yourself as a person outside of rugby. So big up on that.
No, thanks. Appreciate it.
I want to process a day with you while you're playing rugby versus now. So Saturday, Let's process a Sunday. So while you're playing, at the peak of your career, playing for the Springboks, winning the World Cup, all this other stuff, versus now, you don't have a game on Monday or training on Monday. What does Wynand do on a Sunday when there's no cameras versus back then when you're playing professional
Okay, let me start
sport?
on a Friday if you don't mind.
Yes.
I get home, pour myself and my wife a glass of wine.
This is now.
This is now.
Okay, great.
Glass of wine. Spend some time with the kids, say hello to everyone. We go sit outside, watch the kids play, and myself and my wife have a conversation about what happened the week and what we're going to do the weekend. Obviously, we do have plans ahead.
Yes.
90%, 95% of my weekends these days, Saturdays we have a braai with friends. We either go to them or they come over to us. Some it's lekker, kids can swim and all that. So it's lots of friends and family time. And then Sundays, I'll show you the photos of last Sunday. I actually went fishing with my two kids.
Beautiful.
So I took them to the park. We caught a fish or two. Just teaching them different things in life, not just it's about having fun and playing and all that, but also my son's 2, my daughter's 4, about showing them, okay, we catch a fish and okay, let's release it. We're not going to leave it to die or whatever.
Yes.
So it's for me a big thing of not just giving them what they want, but also teaching them what I maybe never was or what they need to learn at this stage.
Got it.
And that's a basic weekend for me. Sunday's usually for family. I enjoy that a lot. It's for me good time with my kids, because I don't always know what the week's going to look like. Might be busy, might not see them as much, but I tend to be at home 5:30, because it gives me about an hour or so to spend with the kids before they bath and get into bed. But it's not always realistic. I think 2022 is probably one of the craziest years I've ever been to. People talk about pre and post COVID. Unfortunately, I don't have no idea what pre-COVID was like, because I didn't have a real job. I was playing a little bit of rugby.
Didn't have a real job.
So obviously post-COVID, it's normal for me. But 2020, 2021 was fast-paced, but 22 is next level.
Yeah.
So and in between all that, it's just finding the right balance of what works between family time, work, achieving goals, and because you can easily blindside yourself in being more driven in achieving goals and spending time where your wife needs you a little bit or the kids might need you.
It's very important to have it here. It's so hard though.
I must say, when I started in 2019, it was finding the balance between building business, running business, obviously making money and all that. The balance was quite difficult. I'd wake up at 4:10 most mornings, go to the gym, go to work, leave work at 6, 7, because stuff needed to be done. I had salaries to be paid. I've got a family at home which I need to feed. And then you lose your family and your wife a little bit because it's so fast paced. My son was also born at that stage, so he's a youngster. I had the 2-year-old daughter, so we basically walked past each other in the house without even saying 2 words. So losing each other as a couple is very, very easy.
Agree.
It's and I've never actually realized that up to today, where my dad always said to me, being in a relationship, it's hard work. Being married, it's constant work. It's not just about today or tomorrow or yesterday. It's constant work. Figuring out what makes that person tick. Because obviously, as people, we also want to grow. You don't want to stagnate and be where you are. I actually saw one of the questions earlier, and I might answer it now. It's where my philosophy in life is, if you are the same person tomorrow than you were today, you lost today.
Wow, love it.
Because you didn't learn anything. So you basically every day need to learn something new, something to develop yourself, your skill. It might be the smallest thing. Obviously, having small kids, I like to look around different things, trees, animals, birds, cars. There's lots of things out there that you can. So I like to educate myself in different ways. Obviously, to teach my kids also. But through all that, I learn a lot of different things. And I stick to certain things. I try to train once a day. I try to read a couple of pages. I think I read 10 books last night for the kids. Obviously not the ones I wanted to, but it was lekker. And it's just living a balanced lifestyle.
Beautiful. Versus a weekend while you at the peak of your career. How does that
that's
look?
different. Obviously Friday is very chilled. You might do 1 or 2 business deals in the morning and then go captain's run. Saturday is always busy. I think probably one of the days you look forward to the most is getting into your car and driving down Linwood past the university, and you see stupid amounts of blue flags all over Pretoria, from Menlyn to where you get to the stadium.
Unreal.
Drop the windows, people screaming, shouting, let's do it, and just going crazy. And then obviously playing the game, running out of Loftus, it's phenomenal. The hype, it's crazy. And then trying to balance that with obviously going out, spending time with friends. I'll never say I didn't have 1 or 2 too many, because that obviously happened. But then in Sundays, recovering, doing the right thing, going for a swim, spending time with family, because obviously family is very important to me, and recovering for the next week. I think the one thing about rugby that's different to everyday work life is, if you made a mistake on Saturday, on Monday you get an opportunity to start preparing for the following Saturday. Where in everyday work, if you make a mistake today, you maybe sometimes have to wait 2, 3, 4 months before you get to rectify that mistake.
Got you.
But also in saying that puts you on a lot more pressure, because now you have to perform every weekend in, weekend out. And living in South Africa, where rugby is probably our national sport, people want to see you achieve big things, win things. They want to be behind you. I remember when we won the Super Rugby, you get to Loftus on a Monday, people sitting from the ticket office 100, 200, 300 meters outside waiting to buy tickets. Amazing. And you walk past and people high five and go crazy. It's completely different. You're basically living on a hype, on a pedestal for every day of your life for 5 or 10 years, however long we played.
Huge pressure.
So it's different. Where now it's a bit more relaxed. You put more pressure on yourself, achieving goals in business and doing well, and obviously creating jobs. And you've got all these other things that you focus on, and you don't get the recognition for it that you did in rugby.
It's a different type of recognition.
It's different. So suddenly you don't get every week, but you might get it every 6 months, 12 months. I don't know, depending on the situation. So getting used to that, it took me about a year and a half getting used to that. Just for people saying, listen,
well done. Yeah, you're doing good.
Every weekend you either got a well done or listen, what did you guys do?
Yeah.
And then 6 days later you get the opportunity to fix again. Well, now it's different. So it's a different challenge, different mindset. It's more long-term goal.
That's it.
That's also why I started going into endurance training. So I did the half Ironman the other day. So it's completely different than to playing rugby where you run 15, 20 meters.
Yeah, that's hard. Half iron. So swim 1.5 kilometers?
1.9.
1.9 swim 90, in the sea?
Yeah, 90 bike and 21 run.
Jeez. But I mean, look at you. You look like Superman. And you're still young, but you still do. So you're looking after yourself, you're eating properly, and that's who you are.
Yeah, that's my family. I think the one person that needs to take credit for that is my wife. She's the one obviously cooking, buying food and all that. And we live a very, very healthy lifestyle. It's something we want to teach our kids.
Yes.
There's a balance between having chocolate and having too many chocolates.
Yes.
And drinking Coke and drinking water or something that's a little bit more healthy.
If you could spend a day with someone, who's that person, dead or alive, and what do you want to process with that person?
If I have to pick someone now, at my situation where I'm now, I'd probably pick Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, leader, very strong values and principles. What do you want to process with him?
I read one of his books, The Infinity Game.
Yes.
Where it's not about getting the accolades now, but playing a game that goes on way beyond when I'm not here anymore.
Yes.
Leaving a legacy. And again, the legacy you leave is not something that you choose. It's something that people speak of you. And not that that's even as important, but it's building something that's long lasting. That, like I said earlier, you create jobs, you create opportunities for someone else. It's just in saying, okay, I was able to play for the Springboks, but I want to give someone else the opportunity as well. Where I think it might be selfish of myself not to give advice or coach or something, because you want the experience to be carried over to the next generation. Yes. So I like talking about rugby and all these things with youngsters and all that, giving the opportunity. It's the same, like I've got no issue of asking questions for anyone, because that's how I learn. I'm a practical guy, so I have to ask it, see it, do it, make the mistake, do it again. And I think he speaks about how to rectify and build it, and what's important and what's not important. Gratitude, for instance. I can mention 100 things. So that currently for me in my life where I am is quite important in achieving my long-term and short-term goals.
Yeah, beautiful book. We had it as a company book a couple of months ago, I think 2-3 months ago. One thing that I got from it is you also have to be patiently aggressive, though. You can't wait too long, because as much as it's an infinite game, things need to happen. You said it earlier, you need to take action. And if you see something, you go for it, you pursue it.
Yeah, it's, again, come back to rugby. There's a gap opens up, you need to take it.
100%.
So if the door opens, you need to walk through it. It's small margins.
You need to
small margins. And I firmly believe in small victories. So it doesn't matter if it's a 10 rand deal, 20 rand, 150,000 rand deal. You celebrate every deal. It's a high 5 years. Well done. Listen, guys.
Yes.
On to the next one.
Yes.
And that creates the infinite game, I think.
Beautiful. Loved your answer. If you could be a fly on the wall and overhear a conversation, I want to see if you've got a dark side, because you're such a nice guy. Like, everything about you you're such a nice guy. Do you have a dark side? Fly on the wall. Who's in the room and what are they talking about? What do you want to overhear?
Yes. That's a difficult one. So I try to focus more on the positive side of things. I've got the saying where I mainly say to my partner, as my business partner as well, where my cup's always half full, not half empty. Where I think that's where our relationship works quite well. He sees things different than me, and we can have a conversation about it. Anyway, so I think, I don't know if it will be political now.
100%.
To see what's happening in the South African government, see where we're going,
rough
what's
time,
happening. Because things are already difficult. And obviously we got kids here. So, and I strive to make South Africa a better place. I think as yourself, as anyone else. And obviously if you can get a little bit of insight into what's coming, what's not coming, I don't know. I think that might be something I want to see currently.
Me too. It's very technical, but in my opinion, what's happening now is it's too much behind closed doors. There's no clarity. Where are we going? Because if there's something bad happening, I want to know about it. I don't want to wait, until the next election to hear about it. Like, what's happening? I would love to be a fly next to you on that wall.
I'd like to see, and like you say, clarity for me, it's a big thing.
Yes.
So we can.
It's very murky.
And sometimes it's not good to prepare yourself too far in advance, but I must say it will be nice.
You're a big reader. I can pick it up. Maybe 1 or 2 favorite books and favorite movie.
Favorite movie. What's the one with Al Pacino? And Jamie Foxx. It's a football game. Friday night. Friday night. No, Any Given Sunday. That's all.
Any Given Sunday.
Any Given
Beautiful.
Sunday. Loved that as a youngster, obviously growing up and seeing the mistakes he made. If you watch it now, I really enjoyed that. That's probably one of my all-time favorites. Books, like I said, Infinity Game is a good one. One that's very close to my heart actually is Richard Branson.
Okay, screw it, let's do it.
That's it. So what happened to me was a little quick story. We were staying at the Grayston Hotel in Sandton, and we got off the bus. Myself and Gary Botha got off the bus last for some reason, and this was 2006. everyone walked in the foyer. Then we walked in, and I said to Gary, "Listen, I know that guy." And he's like, "No, man, who do you think?" I said, "That's Richard Branson."
No way.
And I went into the bathroom. Minute later, he walks in. And I'm like flustered because I was at that stage busy reading his book.
No ways.
And he smiled at me, and I walked outside, and I said to Gary, "I'm going to wait. I'm going to ask him." So I went to the coffee shop in the foyer, and I sat there, and as he walked in, I said, "Listen, are you Sir Richard Branson?" And he said, "Yes, he is." I said, "Can I ask you a big favor? Would you mind signing my book for me?"
And you had the book with you?
It was up in my room. So, but then I went and bought another one in the bookshop in the foyer for my financial advisor at that stage, because he also is a big fan of it. So that was obviously a favorite. And then I think one of my other favorites is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Love it.
Quite enjoyed that.
Love it. That's a great movie as well. The book is good and the movie is good. I think Leo should have won an Oscar for that.
Really enjoyed it. A lot of insight and interesting to see how things played out.
Beautiful. What's happening next? What's next for you? What is Wynand Olivier excited about?
Well, I've got 2 kids I need to get through school, so that's one thing. But I think for me, it's building a balanced lifestyle in terms of building a sustainable business, growing that into where I can see it's going and what it can do and the opportunity that lies ahead. And I think obviously enriching myself with knowledge and doing things different. Everyone's got a plan until they get hit. So I don't want to get hit. I want to be proactive in obviously growing as a person, growing as a father, growing as a husband, and obviously as a businessman. I think the one difficult thing is leaving Wynand the rugby player behind and becoming Wynand the business guy, because it's not that you want to do that. You want to still find a balance, because rugby is always going to be a part of my life.
Agreed.
So I want to give back in a big way. So if I can help kids or a school or whatever it might be, I'm willing to do that. And at the same time, I want to build my business in, like I said, where I can see or where I want it to go.
Beautiful. Sir, you will definitely be leaving us better than you found us. Thank you very much for sharing your valuable time. I've learned a lot. Everybody's going to learn a lot from this interview. Thank you, and more power to you. All the success in the world, and can't wait to see the amazing things that you're going to still achieve. I think you're just getting started.
I hope so. I hope there's a lot ahead. So, but thank you for having me. It was actually nice going back in time a little bit and reminiscing what was, and obviously what I learned through the time. So thank you for that.